Hey, it's Joddie Taylor of SnackySays.com. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we're chatting about what I'm watching or what I watched. Let's get into it. Number one, well, not in order of importance. No Doubt in Us. It's a Chinese anime. Each episode is fairly short, I think, maybe 12 to 15 minutes. There are 2 seasons. I watched season 1 on Viki.com, but I believe you can find it on YouTube. And season 2, I watched on Bilibili. I don't think that's how you say it, but that's how I say it. It's Billibilli.com. Spoiler alert, I enjoyed season 1 more, and that's interesting because lately I feel like I'm enjoying season 2 of almost any series that I've watched. Excuse me, what's going on? Frog in my throat. Almost any series that I've watched this year. If there was a season 2, I preferred season 2 over season 1, and we'll get into that in a moment. So, No Doubt in Us takes place in a fantastical, made-up Chinese kingdom. In my mind, they're speaking Chinese, so I think they're Chinese kingdom. And the emperor and empress switch. It's like Freaky Friday. So hilarity ensues and misunderstandings. And just like the movie Freaky Friday, if you've ever seen it, I think there were 2 versions of that. They get to understand each other a lot better by living the other person's life or lives. So check it out. It's romance, it's action. For me, season 2, unfortunately, didn't answer some questions that I had and some loose ends I thought that came up in season 1. But that's probably just a personal opinion, and I don't know if they're going to do a season 3. But I do recommend both seasons. It was enjoyable, and the episodes are short and sweet. And I think they are... sorry, it's been a little while since I last saw it, but I wanted to include it in this episode. I think there were 24 episodes per season, and again, fairly short episodes. Next up, Secret Invasion, Disneyplus. I actually, as of this recording, still need to watch the very last episode. There's 6 episodes. What do you need to know to watch this series? Number 1, it stars Samuel L. Jackson. He is phenomenal, as per usual. Don Cheadle also is in this series, and he is, per usual, phenomenal. If you're familiar with MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, this is for you. Do you need to see Captain Marvel to watch this series? Man, yeah, I think so. I watched it. I only watched it once, and I found myself, especially the first 2 episodes, like, man, I really wish that I had rewatched Captain Marvel. It is unique in my experience with MCU because it is probably the only movie that I've only seen once in MCU, and that just comes down to it being a flashback. And during phase 4, when I was ready for the next movie, I don't believe I watched any trailers. So I go to the theater and I'm like, yeah, we're going to find out what's the next thing, the next step. And this is way before Endgame and Infinity Wars even had titles. Okay, but we knew that was coming. But anyway, I get there and it's a flashback, so I was kind of pissed, and I never really got over it. And I think because of that, I didn't enjoy the movie properly. I need to go back and watch it properly. So this is a very long way of saying yes. Watch Captain Marvel. Don't be like me. Watch it. Not give it a chance. By now, if you're into MCU, you've watched it. What I was really getting at is, They talk about what happened in Captain Marvel, and there's enough context where you don't really need to see it, but I think it would help. So what I want to say about Secret Invasion, it's easily for me, in my opinion, one of the best written Disneyplus series that I've seen. And we're only, in our 2nd or 3rd year of Disneyplus? But yeah, phenomenal. There's that word again. Phenomenal writing. The dialogue, some of the exchanges that the characters have, it's just like mini masterclasses in acting. So for Disneyplus, no surprise, you could take this series, it's 6 episodes I said, you could take this series, divide it up in 3 and put movies out, basically. Movie 1, 2, and 3, there you go, you're welcome. The production is that high quality. And again, that's true of all Disneyplus shows for me. I lament, if you've ever watched the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm so sorry that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't out when Disneyplus was out. I hope they do a reboot one day, because the things they could have done with that level of production and how they could have tied it into MCU movies even more. But I do believe there was a writer's strike during Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and that kind of threw things off too. Okay, so let's move on. What else do I have for you? There was some, oh, I know. Last one. Tale of the Nine-Tailed. This is 2 seasons. Spoiler alert, I vastly preferred season 2. Vastly preferred season 2. So season 1 is called Tale of the Nine-Tailed. Fox. For some reason, Fox isn't in the title, but it's a fox, which is a mythical Korean animal. And then season 2 is called Tale of the Nine-Tailed 1938. And it's one of my favorite genres in terms of fantasy, time. Like, you can find this out in the trailer, but he goes back in time. The main character does, which is why it's called 1938. Full disclosure, season 1 was 16 episodes, and I only watched 12. Why? Well, the biggest factor, I believe, in hindsight was that I had COVID. And I mean the early days of when I had COVID. So I wasn't really in my right mind or in great physical condition. And the movie was quite dark, literally. There were, as I recall, nighttime scenes. There was a scene like in a funeral home. It was kind of like dark and dreary and sad. But the greatest thing, without giving any spoilers really, is there's a couple in season 1 that just had no chemistry. Unpopular opinion, I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority here, but no chemistry, and it was a drag. Again, I wasn't in the best state when I watched it, but I tapped out. You know, I burned bridges when needed. I tapped out episode 12 and I moved on to greener pastures. But I mentioned that I had COVID because I started and stopped 2 other dramas around this time, and I realized that they all were kind of sad and like dreary, like season 1 was. I don't know, it just wasn't doing it for me. Maybe I'll go back and watch 4 episodes. So, do you need to watch season 2 to watch season 1? Kinda. There's some inside jokes, fleeting jokes, that I wouldn't have gotten if I didn't watch season 1. But do you really need to? I don't think so, because I think what drew people to season 2 was exactly what I wanted in season 1, which was the relationship of the two brothers. Like it. Well, let me go back a little bit. How I came to Tale of the Nine-Tailed was YouTube shorts kept coming up. And whoever posted clips of the 2 brothers and these like funny scenes. And actually, when I watched the scene, the scene that I'm thinking about, when I watched the short, I was like, I don't get it. It's not that funny. What am I missing? They just took all of the funny bits and cute bits, and put that on in the YouTube shorts. And so I think I was expecting one thing. I came for light and breezy and a story about brothers, and I got something else. Like 12 episodes of it, in my opinion. But anyway, season 2 is light and breezy. I don't think I ever answered the question, do you need to watch season 1? I'm going to go ahead and say no, because it's apples and oranges, season 1 and season 2. There are many of the same characters with the same actors. So if you're the kind of person who needs a lot of context, which I tend to be, sure, go ahead and watch season 1, but just know that the atmosphere and mood and energy just very, very different. Season 2 does have some drama, and I did shed a couple of tears, and there's fantasy and there's action, but at heart, it's really about the relationship between the 2 brothers. And I hope that there's a season 3. I feel like there will be. It's just a joy. Lee Dong-wook is the main lead, and I've spoken about him before. He also starred in Bad and Crazy on Netflix. He's a wonderful, wonderful actor. And what I really enjoy most about his work is that I never see him in a show. And I've seen him in a few dramas now. I say dramas, but sometimes they're action, sometimes romance, sometimes comedy. But I never see him and think of another character he played. I only think of the character he's playing in that particular movie or series. Wonderful, wonderful actor. All right, so those are the 3 things that I'm watching or watched, and I recommend them. I tend to like light and breezy and happy endings. So that's probably why I'm not saying that season 1 of Ninetale didn't have a happy ending, because I didn't watch it. I still have 4 episodes to go, and I don't think I'll finish them. But so of course this is all very subjective. Maybe I mentioned these 3 shows, and you'll go on to Disneyplus and watch something else that suits you. But I hope you enjoy whatever you're watching, and I do hope you'll check one or all of these out, and we can chat about it. If you do watch these, or if you've already watched them, please let me know what you think. You can DM me or just leave a comment under this post on Substack. If you enjoyed this podcast episode or any of my podcast episodes, you can find them at joddie.substack.com. That's joddie.substack.com. I do have some other things that I'm watching and reading, but that'll be a separate episode. This year is very interesting in that I feel like I'm watching more and simultaneously reading more than I did last year. So I think I'll be doing more and more of these episodes. All right, take care. Thanks for listening.